Passage and conclusions. What is passage and conclusions? It is a combination of an information based passage followed by some conclusions based on that, which are to be checked according to a given set of direction. This topic deals with the question in which unusual patterns of conclusion are inferred on the basis of a passage. Such a conclusion are unusual as they are different from other type of conclusion which are based on the statements. Passage based conclusion have a scope for probability of truthfulness or falsity. This is the reason why these conclusions may be definitely true or definitely false or probably true or probably false. First, definitely true. This type of inference are either directly given in the passage or are drawn on the basis of given information in the passage and logical analysis. They should prove to be 100% true. Second, definitely false. This type of inference either directly deny the facts given in the passage or by logical analysis. They prove to be 100% false. Third, probably true. The word probable means that there are chances of occurring or not occurring of any event. This option is available for testing a conclusion when it is not definitely true. In other words, I can say it does not follow the statement directly. It is to be noted here that a conclusion is not definitely true because there exist a little chances for its being a wrong as well. Therefore, there is every possibility of its swing towards truthfulness. Let's take an example to understand. Suppose Dhoni needs only 2 runs to complete his 4000 test run. Suppose this is the passage, and the conclusion is Dhoni will complete 4000 test run in his next test match. It will be probably true as a Dhoni has to score only 2 runs to complete his 4000 test run. As a 2 runs is a very little score to complete 4000 test runs, hence the chances are bright. Therefore, conclusion derived as a greater swings towards the probability of being true. Fourth, probably false. This is similar to the one applied in the case of probably true. Whenever the conclusion is not definitely false, it is so because there exists little chance of its being true. In such a cases, the conclusion is said to be probably false. Here the swing seems to be towards falsity and the conclusion is termed probably false. Let's take an example to understand. Suppose the passage is knowledge is not always good and sometimes ignorance is bliss, and the conclusion is knowledge is good. The use of words always in the statement reduces the chance of conclusion being definitely true, and this is the apparent swings towards falsity. Hence the conclusion is probably false. Fifth, data inadequate. Data inadequate is one of the answers option given in the questions. It means the candidate doesn't have enough information to arrive at a conclusion. Now we will practice some passage and conclusion to understand this topic. Passage 1. Asia has become the growth center of the world economy in recent years. Within the region, India and South Korea are the third and fourth largest economies after China and Japan. Through the Asian growth stories mainly revolve around the India and China, and South Korea has remained a key player for these countries as one of their major trading and investment partners. South Korea adopted outward oriented economy policies with the beginning of its first 5-year economic development plan in 1962, which resulted in high growth and the integration of the Korean economy with the rest of the world. Subsequently, high and consistent economic growth made South Korea one of the high-income economies in Asia. South Korea is still growing at a faster rate compared to other developed economies. India, on the other hand, adopted an import substitution policy since its independence until the year 1990. Since then, India has introduced wide-ranging economic policy reforms and is moving towards market-driven economy. This has resulted in consistent high economic growth over the last 1.5 decades. Conclusion 1. Only Korean economy is considered as a robust by the international community. This conclusion is definitely false because China, India and Japan also have a robust economies. Conclusion 2. Japan's economic growth over the last decade is the highest in Asia? This is probably true. It is clear from the second line of the passage. If you read the second line of the passage, within the region, India and South Korea are the third and fourth largest economy after China and Japan. But we don't know who is the first and second. That's why this conclusion is probably true. Conclusion third. The Korean economy is traditionally different than the Indian economy in its approach. This conclusion is definitely true. Why? Because South Korea adopted outward oriented economic policies while India continued with import substitution policy. Conclusion 4. The economic growth of India prior to 1990s was much higher than the present growth rate. This conclusion is definitely false, because if you read the last two lines of this passage, India has introduced wide-ranging economic policies, reforms and is moving towards market-driven economy. This has resulted in consistent high economic growth over the last 1.5 decades. Conclusion 5. India and China together are considered to be the driving force of the Asian economy. This conclusion is probably true, because the Asian growth stories mainly revolve around India and China. Passage 6. The latest data to show that the overall power situation has gotten worse, with the ratio for peak load shortage now the highest in a decade. In absolute terms, the power deficit has hit record levels and seems almost certain to further deteriorate without real reforms on the ground. Even as the aggressive technical and commercial losses in the power system remain much high at over a third of the total generation, Pan-India capacity addition is now well below target. A shortage of equipment and skills is blamed for the marked slowdown in augmenting power capacity, but the dearth of the resources can only be relative. In fact, the real bane of the sector is continuing revenue leakage in the state power utilities and unacceptably high aggregate technical and commercial losses, much of it planned theft of electricity. Given the preponderance of the state's utility in power supply, the fact that they remain very much in red does affect investor comfort and return funds flow. Conclusion 26. Indian power generation is largely controlled by the private sector. This conclusion is definitely false. The passage talks of preponderance of state utilities in the power supply. Conclusion 27. Reform in power sector in India has not yet attained its desired level. This conclusion is definitely true. The passage clearly says that there has been no real reforms on the ground. Conclusion 28. Indian power sector is yet to attain status comparable to developed countries. This conclusion is probably true, because it seems true on the basis of grim scenario of the power sector painted in the passage. Conclusion 29. Power theft is one of the major components of revenue losses in power sector. This conclusion is definitely true. Just go through the second last sentence of this passage. Conclusion 30. Aggregate technical and commercial loss is much less than 30% of the total power generation. This conclusion is definitely false. They are over a third of total generation. Passage 11. Between 2002 to 2003 and 2006 to 7, Indian economy grew annually at 8.7%, led by the services sector at 9% per year. In 1990, India's share of services at 40% of GDP was consistent with its per capita income for low-income country. By 2001, its share of one half of the GDP was higher by the 5 percent points compared to the average for low-income countries. Economic reforms that energized the private corporate sector and technological changes that opened up new vistas in telecommunications, IT and outsourcing are believed to be responsible for the impressive performance. However, the services-led growth remains a puzzle at a low per capita income, with 55% of the workforce still engaged in agriculture, and when agriculture decelerated and industries stagnated, defying a styled facts in economies. Conclusion 53. Share of services sectors in India's GDP crossed the halfway mark in early 2000. There is nothing in the passage which determines the share of services sector precisely in early 2000. That's why data inadequate in this conclusion. Conclusion 54. India has now emerged as a high per capita income country. This conclusion is definitely false. The passage clearly says that in the Indian context, the services-led growth remain a puzzle at a low per capita income. Conclusion 55. Growth in India's services sector post 2005 is more than 9%. This conclusion is probably true from the first sentence of the passage. Conclusion 56. In early 90s, the share of services sector in GDP for low per capita income group of countries was about 40%. This conclusion is probably true. It deduced from the second sentence of the passage. Conclusion 57. Less than half of the total workforce is engaged in agricultural sector in India. This conclusion is definitely false. The 55% of workforce is engaged in agriculture.